Hi guys, Togger here with a new video, and this video will be a X minute to convince you to play Mr. Pandaria Classic. I'll try to do it in 10 minutes, but I know I can ramble a bit. But let's start right away with the few concerns that a lot of people are talking about Mr. Pandaria Classic, why they are still playing retail and why they don't want to try Mr. Pandaria Classic. I'm going to try to convince you to play it. If you don't want it, that's all good, but I'll try to convince you. A lot of the people are talking about Mr. Pandaria Classic and they're saying that in arenas the games are too long, 20-minute matches, and meta is already figured out. Now I'm going to talk about the games are too long. First and foremost, that is true when you're talking about first season 12, season 13 from Mr. Pandaria, when it was like current content, not classic. Why? Because there was like no healing reduction at the time. You didn't have a battle fatigue, which you have it right now. That's why healers can die in BGs, for example, in Mr. Pandaria. When I'm like a resto druid and like 2 or 3 DPSers are on me, I cannot survive at Eternum Vitam, right? I'm dying at one point. While on retail, you could have 5 people on you as a disc priest and just not die. That's an example. In BGs, I'm talking, right? So the games have no dampening, no battle fatigue. You had a PvE gear. You had infinite matches because there was like no limit. So for first and foremost, 20-minute matches was a thing, but it is definitely not a thing right now if you're looking at the beta. But also all the changes they have made. I'm going to show you as well like a blue post which has been posted in June, with updated several PvP focused elements of the upcoming Mr. Pandaria Classic. So they have put a base resilience so you don't get one-shotted before you could get actually one-shotted. But also you have a battle fatigue. It is set to minus 30%, which has been buffed to like nerfed to 40% actually. So it is 40% right now, so that is like one of the older blue posts. But it's 40%. If you're logging in right now on the pre-patch, you'll see in your passives that you get a minus 40% healing and shielding when you do put a debuff on the enemy that they cannot shield or heal or get shielded or healed for full amount. So that's very good as well. There is also a maximum PvE item level, which I'm going to talk about on the next concern that people are talking about. In general, there is that, but also arena maximum game time is now 15 minutes. It cannot go further than 20 minutes. But also you have dampening. It starts at 10%, increases by 6%. That has changed as well. If you're looking at the changes that they have made as well for dampening, I don't know if I can see it right now as well. I don't think I can find it here, but there is a change which I already made a video about. If you want to check it out, you can check it out. You can like click on the orb and dampening starts right away. If both teams are clicking on the orb, if one team clicks on the orb, the dampening starts faster. And if no one clicks on the orb, it is a dampening starting at 5 minutes. In general, people are going to click on the orb. Depending on the comp that you're playing, because mana is not a problem in Mr. Pandaria, has never been a problem, so that's a thing that is maybe a negative about Mr. Pandaria, but you can definitely die very quickly and you can definitely finish games very fast because you have dampening now. So this is not a concern anymore. This should not be a concern. Meta is figured out. Something that is known from Mr. Pandaria and always has been talked about is that the meta is very top heavy. On a tier list, you have S, A, B, C, and D tier. Most specs, I would say all classes, because all classes are like that, but most specs are B plus. And you have some specs which are like the more niche ones, or the ones that got nerfed at the end of the Mr. Pandaria. They like the last patch, it got the nerf bad. For example, demonology Warlock was insane in Mr. Pandaria and then got the nerf bad, and boom, it is the state where it is. It is not bad, but it's definitely not good anymore compared to affliction or destruction Warlock. That is really the reason why they're C tier, for example, because they have another spec that they are possible to play. So, for example, you have Warrior. They have 1 Giga S tier spec, which is Arms Warrior. And obviously, since you compare Arms Warrior to Fury Warrior ends up to D tier. I personally am not like convinced 100% that it is a D tier spec. I think it is obviously like not that great. I think it is viable. It is not like optimal for sure, but I do believe that you can win and you can win games and do well with Fury Warrior in 2s, for example, or in 3s, depending on the comp. And obviously the comp is very like important, but you can do something with it. Most classes have at least 1 or 2 A to S tier specs. Maybe Rogue, where it is one of the first expansions where Rogue is not that great. It is good, but it is very CD reliant. If I'm talking about subtlety Rogue, they are B+. It's not bad. You can win. You can really climb, and you can get rank 1 as a Rogue, depending if you're playing 2s, 3s, or 5s, or even RBGs. You can get rank 1, but obviously it is not as good as in Cataclysm, or as good as it was in Wrath, or as good as it was in TBC. It is what it is. But most classes have like a S or A tier. For example, Paladins, they have like Holy Paladin, which is like a A tier. You have Priest, which has Shadow Priest, and Holy Priest, which in my eyes are A tiers. And Shadow Priest, depending on how you see it, with God comp being available in 3s, but also like how do you see Shadow Priest in 2s, well, that depends as well on how you put in a tier list. So the meta is figured out, but the truth is the meta is very vast, and you can play literally any class and do well with it. Everyone is talking about God comp, RMP, RMD. They're talking about most comps that are going to be played for sure, but they're forgetting about Warrior being S tier for a reason. Affliction Warlock being super good with LSD being a thing, so Lock, Shaman, Druid. There is also LSD2, which is Resto Shaman with Balance Druid. That is also another comp. You can also play Mage Lock with a Destruction Warlock. You can also play Mage Lock with an Affliction Warlock, with a Fire Mage, for example. That is possible. It's not meta, but you can play. Most DK comps are actually good. Like you have Ebola, which is also very strong, and you have obviously PHDK, which is also very strong. You have Jungle, which is also very strong. I can go on. I can talk about a lot of classes that can fit in a lot of comps, and even if the meta is figured out, do you think retail has not the same problem every single season? The meta is always figured out. It is just ever changing, and that's a good thing. Balance changes makes it always like specs get a bit of a shine. The truth is, if you're looking at any tier list, and I will be making my tier list once Miss Pandaria is coming out, because again, I think beta meta is not the same as when season 12 is going to be live on classic servers. I do believe that every class, like let's talk about Shaman for example. Enhancement Shaman and Elemental Shaman are exceptionally good. If you're talking about Warlock, Destruction Warlock is hard to do well because obviously you have to cost a lot, but you can make it work if you play with the right comp. Affliction Warlock is exceptionally good. Shadow Priest is exceptionally good depending on the comp, and you have some comp where Shadow Priest is not that impressive. That's also happening. And in 2s, for example, it's not as oppressive as in 3s. You have obviously DK, which has Unholy DK, very, very good. And then you have Frost DK, which is kind of slept on. A lot of people are saying like, well, we thought it was a D tier spec, but after playing the beta and the many changes that they have made, Frost DK actually slaps. And then you have Retribution Paladin, which is always going to be very nice, and Miss Pandaria makes it just way better because it has good off heals, it has good utilities, has the CC as well, and has the speed, because obviously you have now a movement speed effect, which is sorely lacking if you're talking about retail, for example. A lot of classes have good things, and it's weird for me that you're saying that many people are saying that meta is figured out, when really the meta is that everything is viable. Or like everything is close to viable. Yes, if you are one of those protection warriors, one of those guardian druids, one of those blood DKs that were hoping to be very good at Miss Pandaria Classic in arenas, well, I'm sorry, it's not going to happen. But like, I can count on my hand the 3 specs where I'm saying like, okay, those 3 specs, That's a bit iffy. I'm talking about Fury Warrior, talking about maybe Demonology Walk, and even then I think in 2s it's very good if you're playing with a double DPS comp. It's actually very sturdy and can do very well. You can do well, and 2s has been very good to Classic in general, and will be even better once I'm talking about the second thing. So let's talk about now the MOP will die after Season 1, max Season 2. The reality is every retail season also dies down after Season 2. It is what it is. It just is a seasonal game. World of Warcraft competes with itself, and that's the truth. Why does Rav die? Well, because you have a new expansion from retail that comes out, or a new classic fresh comes out, or a season of X, or whatever that is going to come out is going to compete with its current season of Rav. The same for Cataclysm. It died down because you had SOD coming out. SOD came out, and a lot of classic players went to SOD because it was a new big sexy thing. And then you have also a retail expansion or a retail season coming out, and every single time it does like this. You have to understand that it just is what it is at the end of the day. You can now play Miss Pandaria and have a great time, even if it's only for Season 1 and Season 2. Maybe Season 3, who knows? Maybe you're going to like it and you're going to stay. A lot of people are going to maybe stay because they're going to say that Miss Pandaria Classic Arenas is actually very cool in the gameplay aspect. And obviously balancing is always going to be nice because it's going to give you a bit of a dopamine shot. Like, oh there, I'm an arcane mage and I get buffed. Now I'm going to have a great time. That's true. And you have the same on retail, but the truth is that it has a dip in popularity most of the time because the new thing comes out and it competes with itself. If you don't see what I'm saying right now, then it means that you're just like playing one version at all times, and that's great. If you're playing retail only and you don't care about classic, then I guess this doesn't apply to you. But if you're like one of those gamers that play the multitude of versions depending on the popularity of that version, well, you should understand how it feels, because at the end you swap because of the popularity dip and the popularity surge of certain versions. Every classic expansion has a huge dip in popularity. That's true, but at the end we have Miss Pandaria Classic, which has changes and has, I would say, arguably one of the best PvP representations when it comes to actually rep towards the PvP scene. So Miss Pandaria Classic, like just Miss Pandaria, not the Classic, has been seen as one of the best PvP expansions of all time. So a lot of people are going to test it, a lot of going to play and maybe enjoy it or just leave, because again, some people think it's better than it was. But that's something that you have to decide for yourself. But I think like basing your judgment on playing or not the game based on a Season 1 or Season 2 dip is a bit hysterical, because if you're thinking about like retail, it's like every single season like this, every single season and every single expansion. Midnight is going to come out, we'll get 10x the amount of players that they had, and then we'll have a minus 10 amount of players that are going to leave the game based on seasons going up and down. It's always going to be like this. Now, another version like thing that they're talking is too grindy, need PvE gear to PvP, which is false, and already shown you like again there are multitude of things that are going to help me with that case. But there is now a maximum PvE item level of 473 while inside of Arena's Battlegrounds and Rated Battlegrounds, while the Conquest gear is 490. So it means that if you want to PvE to get PvP gear, go for it, but you're going to have to fight versus PvP resilience and PvP power and a PvP item level, just an item level being lower than who you're competing with. So there is no reason to PvE at all. There is literally no item right now that can compete with that big of a item level discrepancy, and you are shooting inside like at yourself on your foot if you are thinking that resilience is not important. If you don't have the resilience, you're going to get one-shotted. There is a reason why they have set a very high base resilience. It's because that if you don't have that, you're going to die. And if you don't have like the trinket set, for example, you're going to miss a good 10%. So you're going to take 10% more damage and you're going to lose PvP power, which is itself like the versatility that you can see in retail. It's actually the same. If you're missing 10% or 20% versatility, you can already know how painful that can be. I invite you to test it right now in retail. Go in PvE gear into PvP and you'll see the amount of damage you will get. It is the same in Mists of Pandaria. So that's one thing. You don't need PvE. I don't know how people can still think about that while you have literally blue posts talking about it. Now let's talk about the too grindy part. You have gearing, and gearing is very, very easy. It always has been like this since Mists of Pandaria, but also Cataclysm, I would say. I think gearing is easier in Mists of Pandaria because you get more honor per BG compared to Cataclysm. But you have first and foremost the contender gear set, and that is the auction house gear set. You can literally buy your PvP gear, so you don't need to PvE at all. Just buy the PvP gear from the auction house. That's already a good foot inside of, between the door to actually play PvP and to be competitive, at least in BGs. Of course, PvP is like a whole season, and the longer the season it goes and the longer people are like gearing up, if you're like starting up in the end of the season, you're going to get blown up by people that are full conquest gear. But that's the same for retail, guys. Like, that's something that is like universal to World of Warcraft. If you like play the season at the end instead of the start, you're going to have struggle with like getting one-shotted or getting like out geared. But you have also the honor gear, which is super easy to get. You just spam BGs, and you have multitude of ways to also get honor by Winter Grasp or Tol Barad. So those are like very good honor incomes, I would say. And obviously, if you are full honor, the only thing you need to do once season starts is get the conquest gear. And conquest gear is first and foremost time gated, so it's always been like this, and it's the same for retail. And you have a catch up. You can catch up. So it means that if you are like missing 1 or 2 weeks, you will have 1 or 2 weeks of conquest to grind, which is a good thing. If you compare it with Wrath of the Lich King Classic, where they had arena points, which is a shitty system, and that's why I didn't really play Wrath as much, is because I like left for 1 month, came back and couldn't compete with the gear discrepancy and also having to PvE. So you have a lot of things there that is very different from what we have right now with Mists of Pandaria, and just easier to get. Like, literally, you play PvP, you get conquest. If you're doing rated 2s, 3s, or RBGs, or 5v5, you'll get conquest even if you lose. So if you lose, for example, if it's the same on Cataclysm, normally, from what I've tested on beta, it's the same as Cataclysm. If you lose, you get 17 conquest when lost in arena, and if you win, you get 225 on win. So basically, you can literally farm losses and get your conquest gear. You obviously want to win, I hope, but you don't get any conquest if you suck at a retail, because you do not get any conquest as long as you lose. So that's something that people are like thinking that, yes, it is too grindy. It is grindy. Like, it's obviously not getting, you don't get gear for free, which isn't the same for retail as well, by the way. And the truth is, Mists of Pandaria is easier to get because you can lose your games and still gain something. Popularity, it is insanely popular, guys. It is insanely popular. I think you don't realize the amount of people playing right now in the pre-patch. You don't realize the PvP sphere right now. If you go on Twitch, most people are playing or waiting for Mists of Pandaria Classic. Retail PvP is at a status quo. I would say it dies down because, again, they're spitting out our faces with no communication, no actual changes, stupid queue times for solo queue. That's really, really annoying. And talking about solo queue, yes, solo queue is not a Mists of Pandaria Classic. And yes, if you are like a solo queue only player, then I'm very sorry. But the truth is, World of Warcraft has never been about solo queue before Dragonflight. And if you have been playing before Dragonflight and you had played Arena, how did you do? You just play 2s or 3s, YOLO 2s, YOLO 3s, you do YOLO RBGs, If you have like a good connection with someone from your guild or from in real life or whatever, you can do like push twos and get like a higher rank, or you farm some Battle.net tags, which always has been a thing. And yes, solo queue would make Miss Pandaria Classic instantly way better in retail. Like without even like playing it, people would just jump on Miss Pandaria, because I think that's one of the reasons that people don't want to play Miss Pandaria, because there is no solo queue. And they are thinking that it's impossible to LFG your way to victory. But the truth is, Miss Pandaria Classic, I already shown you multiple times on like my second channel, on this channel, the social aspect, the LFG aspect, the looking for group aspect, the custom tab on Miss Pandaria Classic, or just Cataclysm in general, when Cataclysm was current, like classic current, is way more active. So finding someone to play twos is not hard, because first and foremost, I already talked about it, but Miss Pandaria is very double DPS friendly. I know that if you play a lot of retail, you will forget about the time where double DPS was a thing, but it is a thing in Miss Pandaria. You can play Unholy DK or Frost DK, Retribution Paladin. You can play Arms Warrior, Retribution Paladin. You can play Arms Warrior, Fistweaver. You can play obviously Affliction Warlock with a Shadow Priest. You can play Affliction Warlock with a mage. You can play Destruction Warlock with a mage. You can play Demonology Warlock with a boomy. You can play so many combos. Like legitimately every single DPS spec has a double DPS equivalent comp that you can play in twos. And obviously if you find a healer, it can be a bit more comfy to grind, because you don't have auto losses. Some comps are just auto losses, but that's just how it is in double DPS. But the games are very fast, so the first thing about the 20-minute matches, that really just only applies to, I would say, God comp versus COD comp, and even then they limit it at 15 minutes, and you have dampening now, and you have battle fatigue. But that aside, if you understand that, I do believe like you can easily find someone to play twos with. First and foremost, I already like promoted like multiple times the guilds, but if you're playing on Pharma and you have the equivalent on Gehennas, you have the equivalent on whatever server you have in US, you have PvP guilds that are just about PvP. Literally, I have 2 guilds currently, and the second guild I even has a second guild to supplement the amount of people playing right now on Miss Pandaria Classic for PvP only. You have Pro PvP, which is a guild that is like immense if you want to do arenas and RPGs, and you have Champion Circle on Pharma, which has Champion Circle 1 and Champion Circle 2, and has huge discords where people are like actively finding mates to play 2s and 3s and RPGs, and even now 5v5. And with 2v2 being able to get Glad, because yes, you can get Glad in Miss Pandaria Classic with 2s, which is something that you would hope on retail, but it just doesn't happen. You have here, we are bringing back Gladiator rank 1 titles and rewards for 2v2 and 5v5. We will have a flat cutoff instead of a percentage of... So basically you have a flat cutoff. And you have obviously like characters you can have like Glad on like multiple characters, so it doesn't like be filled by like one guy having 10 alts, for example. So that if you care about like 2s and you're like 3v3 is the one thing that counts the most, well, no, in Classic, 2v2 counts as much as 3s, counts as much as 5s. Obviously, getting 5v5 Glad and rank 1 is a bit different. It's like, again, it's always about boosting, basically. But in 2v2, you can get Glad, and it will be seen as a legitimate Glad. And I know that some people like swearing and playing by 3s, but the truth is that 2v2 in Classic has always been like the most popular form of PvP, rated PvP. And I would say it's the same for retail. So, but the issue with retail is they don't give anything towards I would say they don't give anything towards the population that wants to do 2s. So basically everything you're doing in 2s feels kind of pointless, because it doesn't really count towards rewards too much. Same for Soul Shuffle, actually. So you have that as well. Now, it's already like 24 minutes, so my convincing in 10 minutes kind of sucks, I guess. But I'm still going to post it, and I might make a joke about it. But why you should PvP in Mistweaver Classic? If you want to have fun in one of the best versions of PvP like ever in World of Warcraft, you should definitely play Mistweaver Classic. Why you should play Mistweaver Classic? Well, for 2v2, well, for 3v3, well, for random BGs popping in like 30 seconds, 1 minute queue times. For the many changes that actually the Classic devs did, with the many communications that they did for Mistweaver Classic, so they actually cared about PvP. They really wanted it to be a successful experience because they also know Mistweaver Classic PvP, or just Mistweaver in general, is the fan favorite expansion for PvP. If you want to play a class, any class, you can be assured that it actually has a good spec where you can play. And if you're very skillful, you can even make some suboptimal spec very viable. I'm sure you can make it even for Fury. It will be a struggle, but you can make it work. Why should you play PvP? Well, healers die. Yeah, it actually dies in random BGs. You don't need to have 10 people on one healer to eliminate someone, because there is battle fatigue, which is like a straight up dampening, like from the start. Actually, like it's 40% no healing and like 40% less healing and less shielding, which is like very impactful. You have a big resilience, so it means that you're not getting one-shotted, so the one-shotted things are not happening. You have PvP power and you have PvP gear being more important than PvE, and you don't want to PvE to get PvP. That's not going to happen. And I just think that if you're not playing Mistweaver Classic, at least for the first season, you kind of missing out. And right now, the truth is, this is a video for the first channel, so for the primary channel, which is not really primary these days, but whatever. Retail is not popular right now, like despite what people think and want to believe. Right now retail is just not good. And if you're thinking about solo queue, that's good. If you're a DPS player, good luck with the queue times. Like doing double tasks to be able to justify the queue times, good on you. You have people that are like lifetime rogue players that have to heal in Soul Shuffle to be able to like play the game. I'm thinking about streamers even, like Peekaboo for example, or like Venruki healing in Soul Shuffle instead of like playing his mage. Like, it's always things that you should notice without like people telling you that it is dead. Like, it's a really dead queue time. Like, the queues are just not good. So no matter what people say, even if you have to LFG your way to victory in Miss Pandaria, you will get to play more in general than compared to Soul Shuffle. And that's the truth. And if you don't see that, it means that you have like zero social skills, and that's fine. But it's not hard to find someone. Like, you just don't need to be picky. If you're very picky, then you deserve to wait a bit longer. But if you're like let's say a rogue, you can definitely play with a mage, you can definitely play with a hunter, you can play definitely play with any druid spec, you can play with even double rogue. If you're like a DK, you can play with a Retribution Paladin. Like, you have ways to like circumvent that healing thing, which in retail is just not happening. And then another thing about the takes too long to level. That's true, it takes a bit of time to level. Truth is, it would have been better if you leveled before Miss Pandaria Classic actually came out. But it's not that long. It takes a commitment, like it is also a commitment to level on retail. It is faster on retail because obviously you can literally time walk your way to victory pretty much. But at the end, I mean, if really for you time is money, well, you can spend that money to get the boost. That's something that is available to you. I wouldn't do that because, first and foremost, I don't really despise leveling that much, and if I want to bypass the leveling, well, I will buy the boost, and I will feel like it is worth my money, because again, time is money. But the leveling is not taking that long to actually justify the boost. You can literally leveling yourself, depends on how much you have time to play. But obviously, if you have only 2 hours to play in 1 week, will you even have time to play solo queue in retail? That's something you have to ask yourself. Like, you don't get to play at all anyways, so it's more that the game is not made for you, and it is what it is. If anything, I don't know if I have missed any objection, but really you should try Miss Pandaria. It will come out today or tonight, depending on where you live. And it's going to be a blast. I'm going to play 4 characters at minimum. I might play more because alting is very easy in Miss Pandaria, and you only need to PvP. I'll try a bit of PvE, because again, I think it's something I haven't done on Miss Pandaria. It's actually PvEing, except like the Siege of Orgrimmar patch. So I'll try to do that as well, but I'm going to do that on only 1 character. Why not? But yeah, have a great launch. Like, good luck to the retail players that do not want to play Miss Pandaria. That's fine. Hopefully retail has better days. That's coming from someone that wants retail to thrive, because my content is also going to thrive when retail thrives, because it's way easier to make content on something that is live and ever changing. But the truth is that I'm like choosing the player aspect. So I want to play Miss Pandaria. I don't want to make content on Miss Pandaria. I will do it, but I want to play it because it's going to be fun. So yeah, again, good luck and have a great day. Bye.